The core design philosophy of Aston Martin is to copy the champions. If you look at the move to get Adrian Newey and have that exclusive Honda deal, it's also a copycat move because Adrian Newey and Honda helped Max Verstappen. I mean, they were a driving force that made Max Verstappen the dominant champion that he is today. And Lawrence Stroll and Aston Martin in extension, they're like, let's just get those components that the championship winning teams have in order to build a championship winning car. Some might argue that this is a great idea at building a championship winning car in Formula One, but it simply doesn't work. Formula One cars are very complicated. They're basically computers that go really fast. And you cannot copy that and continue to improve it and iterate it throughout a Formula One season. There are actually two instances in which Aston Martin has tried to copy the best car on the grid in order to try and challenge for world championships, and they have failed miserably both of those times. The most recent instance of copying happened in the 2023 Formula One season, in which the AMR 23 had a lot of similarities with the previous year's Red Bull, the RB18, especially the side pod design and various other aerodynamic components. This also reflected in their performance. In the first 8 races of the season, Fernando Alonso went on to score 6 podiums. However, as the season progressed, the performance of the car deteriorated. As you can see, I have broken the season into 3 parts. And in each part, you can see the average finishing position and the average points scored for Fernando Alonso in the 2023 Formula One season. And it just becomes worse and worse as time passes. The reason is very simple. It's not their car. That's why they don't know how to improve upon it. That's why they don't know why the car behaves in a particular way in a particular track. They are absolutely clueless. And if you look at the performance of Fernando Alonso in the 2024 season, it's very similar to the last third of the 2023 season. Here, the average finishing position is 8.25, and they started off the season with 8.13. And again, throughout the season, they failed to improve upon and iterate upon the car because it's not really their design in the first place. The second instance of copying happened in 2020 when the team was known as Racing Point. The RP20 had a lot of similarities with the previous year Mercedes, the W10, and it was infamously known as the Pink Mercedes. If you look at Sergio Perez's performance in the 2020 season, these are his race position, the position where he finished in all of the tracks that he competed in. There, like the DNFs are excluded. And you can see the car is more or less consistent throughout the year. Now, you may go ahead and argue that copying works as long as you do it correctly, because in 2020, it seems to have worked. They started the season strong, and the car did held up as the season progressed. But these numbers actually don't reflect the big picture, because in 2020, the season began in July. It began in July because of COVID. There were a lot of new tracks in the calendar. There were a lot of repeat venues in the calendar. A lot of teams were actually focusing on the 2021 cost cap regulations. And also, in 2020, Mercedes W11 was one heck of a car. They introduced the dual-axis steering, the DAS system, if you recall. And because of that, it is likely that because of all of the reasons I just mentioned that made 2020 Formula One season peculiar and different, it is possible that the other teams on the grid did not invest in their car's development in that season. It seems plausible why Sergio Perez's performance did not drop off like it did with Fernando Alonso in 2023. And also another interesting thing, if you look at the performance of this team in the next 2 seasons, it's worse. In the 2021 Formula One season, they were rebranded as Aston Martin. Sebastian Vettel finished 12th in the driver standings. Lance Stroll was 13th. In the 2022 season, Sebastian Vettel finished 12th in the driver standings and Lance Stroll dropped down to 15th. So their performance in the subsequent 2 years just dropped down because all the other teams in the field caught up and they were still there with their copycat philosophy. And this finally brings us to the latest copycat move of Lawrence Stroll to get Adrian Newey and that Honda exclusive deal. If both of these decisions happened from within the team, for example, if the existing team members suggested that let's go partner with Honda rather than Mercedes, then it would have been their own original philosophy. If the current team members say that, hey, let's go get Adrian, he will bring a lot to the team, which he would regardless, then it would have been an original step forward. But if you look at other championship winning teams and are like, what does they have that we don't? Let's just get all of those ingredients and throw him in the mix, and out will be a championship winning car. It's kind of delusional if you think about it. And look, I absolutely understand that Adrian Newey is going to bring his unique mind and unique philosophy. He's not going to indulge in copying others. Obviously, other people copy from Adrian Newey. But I just don't like to see the pattern of copying. In 2020, they copied Mercedes, had a good season. 2021, 2022, absolutely shit. 2023, they copied Red Bull, started the season strong, but since 2023 was like a full season, as the season progressed, their car became worse and worse compared to others. The same thing happened in 2024, in which they just failed to improve upon the existing car. And I'm afraid that might happen again in 2026. With all of that being said, I really hope that Aston Martin comes up with an amazing car. I hope Adrian Newey designs a rocket ship with that Honda engine, because 2026 could be Fernando Alonso's last season in Formula One. It very likely is. And it'll be awesome to see the oldest driver on the grid fighting for pole positions and wins and hopefully the World Championship. There is actually a way of knowing if that's going to happen. All we need to do is observe the evolution of Aston Martin in the 2025 season. Because if you look at how they have performed historically, they will start the season strong, but progressively they will get shittier and shittier. If that pattern breaks in 2025, like they will start the season with a shit car, which they obviously will because they ended 2024 with a terrible car. So if they start the season with a terrible car, which they will, and they continue to improve its performance weekend after weekend, then it is a new pattern that we haven't seen with Aston Martin or Racing Point or whatever, that iterative improvement, the continuous improvement of the car throughout the season. If that happens in 2025, I'm very hopeful that in 2026, Adrian Newey is going to design a rocket ship. Maybe Lance Stroll will win a Grand Prix or two. That'll be awesome. Thank you for watching, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.